In 2017, I became a millionaire on paper and lost it. Bitcoin went from 20,000 all the way to 3,500. That was scary. So I'm here with this crypto multimillionaire who's made a fuck ton of money with crypto. And he's like, hey, Luke, like, he like whispers in my ear, he's like, hey, can you pay for my lunch? What do you mean? I thought you were like rich. I thought you were inviting me to lunch. You know what I mean? When the average individual is in the mix, it's usually the end of the season. When the taxi driver's talking about crypto, when your grandmother's talking about crypto, who else is left to buy? Truly. Because those are usually the most uneducated, most uninformed people that are getting the information the last. The hedge funds are positioned, the market makers are positioned, the venture capitalists are positioned. Smart money's already in the game. And then what they do is very simple. They'll go to CNBC, they'll go to Fox News, they'll go to Forbes, and they'll pay the journalists to write articles on their behalf to do what? Increase eyeballs, because the newbies, they read these things. And then the information gets dispersed, gets disseminated, and that information then leads to what?
Attention.
Liquidity.
Yes.
Yeah. And the liquidity is where the smart people get out. They get out on the liquidity of the noobs. So in 2020, I think it was March of 2020, I remember using an exchange. It was Kraken and Binance before they were cracking down super heavy on it. And I had my orders already placed. So I had orders placed for Ethereum sub $100. I had Cardano at half a penny, XRP at 13 cents again. And it was the COVID crash. You know, it was the big black swan event, and all of these tokens and all of these orders got filled, right? So I remember I was playing Call of Duty and I see my phone going off, like the little vibration thing, and you see the notifications, all the shit's getting filled. I'm like, oh fuck. At that time, I was kind of scared too, in the sense of, okay, is this actually going to zero? Because mind you, bro, Bitcoin went from 20,000 all the way to 3,500. That was scary, right? But it's usually in the fear that you have to buy into it, and it's in the fear of missing out that you have to sell. And the markets are quite psychological. And when you understand that the psychology is actually manipulated by people, you can in some way, shape, or form understand the cycle. Now, by no means am I perfect, but it worked out pretty well. I remember being on Clubhouse, it was I think 2020, and that's when the app was really popular and popping. And CZ from Binance hopped on there, and he was giving a kind of like a Clubhouse meeting with other crypto people. I tuned in and I got the opportunity to ask him a question, because I remember buying BNB in 2017 for $2. So the BNB token, which went to $600+, I was one of the first people that was actually buying BNB for $2 when the exchange was extremely new. I was a big fan of Binance. I still am. I think they're fucking dope. And that's no advice to put your money there, because you never know how exchanges are. But I was a big fan of it. They've done a lot of good for the space and helping it grow. But I said, okay, BNB, it's correlated to what? The exchange. So there needs to be more growth factors and more kind of coal to the fire to keep the engines running. So at that point, I asked CZ, hey, you know, Uniswap has a competitor. They need a competitor. They're on the Ethereum chain. And I just saw that you launched the Binance Smart Chain, extremely new. There was no YouTube videos on it. I think when I went to type on YouTube, the Binance Smart Chain, there was one guy talking about it from India and then one guy from China. There was like 2 or 3 videos. So it was super small, right? Yeah. It was just gotten started, just launched. And then there was an old guy, some European guy, that made a video about it on how to like connect it with your MetaMask wallet. Because you look at MetaMask, the default is Ethereum, and you have to increase different chains. You have to do this whole like nonsense, right? So he said, well, you know, we're trying to compete because the Binance Smart Chain is going to increase the demand for what? For BNB, which is the native token of the platform, therefore driving up the price. Most of the employees, most of CZ's wealth is attached to the BNB token. This is just how it works. So to increase demand, you need to create demand. So he was like, yeah, well, there's other DeFi projects, one of them being PancakeSwap. And I'm like, well, what do you know about PancakeSwap? And he stuttered a little bit. And then he was like, well, I don't know. I think they're a team from Turkey. And he started giving me information. I'm like, well, if you don't know this anonymous team, how is it that you know where they're from? You know how much, like how they're doing, you know that they're safe, that they're well put together team, that they're professionals. And they are. These guys absolutely crushed it. So I went back and I was like, dude, like maybe I shouldn't be betting on projects. Maybe I should be betting on people. And I bet on CZ. So I purchased, at that time, PancakeSwap was $25 million market cap, very small. Okay. I purchased 1% of the supply for $250,000. And from 25 million, it went up to a $2.6 billion market cap. Damn. I sold, I think, at about $36. But my selling point was one of the co-founders of FaZe Clan, the gaming org. He texted me and he said, hey, should I buy SafeMoon? And this was the week that SafeMoon had migrated from the Ethereum chain to the Binance Smart chain. And I said, I'm out. Because this guy, he's a gamer. He's not a crypto guy. And that's during the shitcoin season. You guys remember when people are creating tokens out of thin air?
The ding doing coin and all the bullshit.
Yes, so I was like, okay, this is the end. Because people are just making shit up. At that point, I remember sitting in Mexico, $36, cashed out. And it went up to, I think, $42, $43. And I felt like I'd missed out. But thankfully, I rode that wave pretty well. I did quite well with that investment, made some good money. And the reason I got into crypto was, in fact, I had a buddy come and visit me at the time when I was making still money with e-commerce. And we went to a restaurant, well, a fast food restaurant at the time. I don't endorse seed oils anymore, but it was called Chipotle. I don't know, it's like a Mexican fast food place. And the bowls there are like $12. So I'm here with this crypto multimillionaire who's made a fuck ton of money with crypto. And he's like, hey, Luke, like, he like whispers in my ear, he's like, hey, can you pay for my lunch? And I'm like, what do you mean? I thought you were like rich. I thought you were inviting me to lunch. You know what I mean? And he's like, no, well, I don't have any money. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have any money? He's like, yeah, all my money's in crypto. And I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Like, this guy knows something that I don't. This guy like understands the game. This guy plays well. So I went back home, put all my money in crypto, and it worked out. Cashed out of Bitcoin at 55,000, cashed out of Ethereum at 2,950 or something quite high, and it worked.
But you listen to the crypto millionaire, but do you think, like we talked about it before, like it wasn't luck that you met up with a crypto millionaire and that he said that thing and that you listen and then think like, okay, now I have to go all in on that. But with Bitcoin, like, okay, when it's on like 55,000, right? How did you make the choice to get out on that moment, not later on or earlier?
There was 3 reasons. One is it was enough money that based on my expenses, I would never have to work again. So it was like, okay, yeah, I can make more money. It was in the multiple 8 figures, over $40 million in crypto. And I was like, okay, like maybe it goes to 60, maybe it goes to 70 Bitcoin each, but like, is it going to actually exponentially change my life? But if this shit crashes, right, it's going to hurt. So at this point, it's not a multiples game, it's a preservation game. And I did not want to repeat the cycle of 2017, bro. Like, that shit fucking hurt. That shit hurt. In 2017, I became a millionaire on paper and lost it. And I was like, okay, like, shit, I don't want to do this again. So in 2018, made my money with crypto, became a millionaire again, right? And then eventually I was like, I got to just multiply, but then I have to preserve, which is the motto and the premise of Capital Club, to create, multiply, and preserve wealth. Because in every facet, the ideology and the processing has to change of how you think about information. But the markets are completely tied to the policy of the Fed, right? So when the Fed decides to print money or they decide to buy assets, that's when the market pumps. And when they say, hey, we're no longer buying assets, the market dumps. And you need to correlate the people that work at the Fed. They put out, it was a big announcement. They said, hey, we are selling all of our assets because it is a conflict of interest for us to be in the markets while the markets still exist. Within 30 days, that was the top. I sold when they put out that announcement. It only made sense. And people can call it luck. I call it a game of possibilities. The more you try something, the more refined you become. And the more refined you become, the better you become.